Okay, so today I thought I would do a pork tenderloin for you guys, and I'm going to get it in a marinade first, get it in the refrigerator for a couple of hours before we actually cook it. Also, what we're going to do with that is we're going to do some amazing Brussels sprouts. So let's get started with this pork tenderloin. So I got this great pork tenderloin here. I'm going to get it in a Ziploc bag. I'm going to add a couple of cloves of garlic that I've chopped up. I'm gonna crack some pepper in there with it. Once again, I'm not gonna do any salt until I'm ready to cook. I'm gonna do about 1/4 cup of soy sauce. Worcestershire sauce. We're also going to do about a tablespoon of soy sauce, give or take a little bit. And then I'm going to do about a small can of sliced pineapples. So I'm going to use the juice from the whole amount in there. And we're going to save the pineapples for a little bit later. Okay, so we're going to get this all squished up in here real well. Get it all covered in there. I'm going to get most of the air out I can. Zip it up. And this is going to go in the refrigerator for probably about 3 hours. Okay, and when we're back, we'll go ahead and get started with the Brussels sprouts. Okay, so let's get started with these Brussels sprouts. What you're gonna need is, of course, Brussels sprouts, a red onion, your favorite jam, apricot, peach, strawberry, and a few slices of bacon. Okay, so we're gonna save the bacon for last. We're gonna chop it up and we're gonna saute it in a pan here in a bit and then get the rest of this going with it. So first I'm gonna clean up all these Brussels sprouts, and the way I do my Brussels sprouts is I basically cut off the end and I take a few of the outer leaves off like such. And then depending on how big the sprout is, I'll either cut it in half or slice it 3 times. This one's a little big, so I'm gonna go ahead and slice it 3 times, okay, like such. So I'm gonna get all these sliced up and I'm gonna get my onion sliced up with it, and then we'll be right back. Okay, I'm gonna get this bacon to rendering, and then we're gonna add the Brussels sprouts and the onions. Probably add some salt and pepper to that, get that cooked up really well, and we're gonna finish it off with the apricot preserves, okay? Okay, so I've got my pork tenderloin out of the refrigerator. It's been resting for about 30 minutes on the counter. I'm gonna go ahead and get some olive oil on it and some salt and pepper. I'm gonna put it in a 400-degree oven, and I'm gonna let it go for about 15 minutes and check the temperature. Once again, I'm gonna try to get it to about 140. And once I get it in the oven, I'm gonna get our Brussels sprouts going, okay? Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get some olive oil on here, get it all coated up nicely. I'm gonna get some good amount of salt on it, and a good amount of pepper. Now, when I put this in the oven, I'm going to lay the pineapples on top of it so we can have some nice roasted pineapples to go with it. All right, we'll be back. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get my pan out of the oven. It's been heating up at the oven, so it's about 400 degrees, and that's when I'm going to go ahead and get my pork tenderloin browned up and get it back in. set my pan back over medium-high heat while I'm browning this. And don't forget, whenever you are pulling something hot out of the oven, make sure you have an oven mitt on, and if you can, have a little bit of extra protection like I do with this pan. Okay, so this pork tenderloin has a really nice sear on it, so I'm going to go ahead and pop it back in the oven, and it's going to stay there for about 15 to 20 minutes. I'm going to check the temperature and try not to get it more than 140, 145. Okay, now that I've got the pork loin back in the oven, I'm going to go ahead and get my Brussels sprouts started. That's kind of the star of the dinner tonight. So I've already got my bacon rendered in my pan. So I'm just going to heat that back up and throw my Brussels sprouts and my onions in there. Can't forget the pineapples. Okay, so I got my bacon and my grease nice and hot again, so I'm going to go ahead and throw my Brussels sprouts and my onions in there. So what I like to do when I put these in is I'm going to go ahead and get some salt and pepper on them. Fair amount of salt. And I'm going to let them sit here and get a nice char on them. Not move them around too much for a couple of minutes. And I'm going to toss them about once, let them brown a little bit more, and then kind of finish sauteing them up and let them sit for a bit. Okay, these Brussels sprouts have been cooking for about 3 minutes untouched, so I'm going to go ahead and give them a little flip here and see how they look. Definitely starting to get some nice char on them as they're cooking and getting more and more tender. Okay, and we're going to let them sit for another few minutes before I toss them around a bit again. Okay, so while your Brussels sprouts are cooking, if you feel like they're getting a little dry, you can just go ahead and add another little bit of oil in a couple of different places in your pan. That's what I'm going to do. Give them a little shake, keep them going. They're going to be perfect. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and give these Brussels sprouts a good toss. Man, they are looking great. Really good char on most of them. Char's going to add a lot of flavor for us, and these are going to be some really amazing Brussels sprouts. Okay, since I have about the right amount of char on these that I like, here's where the magic happens. I'm going to take my jam and I'm going to take and add about 3 tablespoons. I've got apricot jam, like I said, you can use peach. or strawberry. It's whatever you like. I'm not sure I would use grape, but anyway, I'm going to use the apricot jam. Get that all mixed in here. And with that, these Brussels sprouts are about done. I'm going to go ahead and put a lid on them, let them kind of steam finish so they'll be nice and soft. Turn the heat down a little bit and wait for my pork tenderloin to come out. Okay, and we'll be back. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and check these Brussels sprouts and see how they're doing. They look absolutely amazing, if you can see them there. And I'm going to give a little taste test here. Oh my gosh, those are so good. I'm cooked just like I like them, so I'm going to go ahead and take them off the heat and let them rest back here on the back of the stove. Fixing to check the temperature on this pork tenderloin, so see where it's at. Okay, so this tenderloin's going to take a few more minutes to get on up to 140, so we'll be back. Okay, and it looks like we are going to temp out right at 140. So I'm going to take this baby out of the pan, put it on a plate, cover it, and let it rest for about 10 minutes, and then we're going to be ready to eat. Check that out. Pineapples and all. Okay, so I actually had that pork tenderloin in the oven at 400 degrees, and it was in there for about 25 minutes. Depending on the weight and how big yours is, you're going to want to maybe cook it a little bit more or a little less. But you definitely want to have a thermometer so you can check the temperature. Okay, so after that rest, we're going to go ahead and get all this plated up, and we'll be back. Okay, well, we're about ready to eat, and I'm going to go ahead and get these Brussels sprouts on the plate so you guys can check them out. They're absolutely beautiful. Nice and roasted, the bacon, the red peppers, and the Brussels sprouts. And these are going to be delicious. There you go. Check it out. Okay. Hope you enjoy.